Why Catholic abstain from meat? Catholic abstinence from meat, especially on Fridays and during Lent, is not a mere cultural custom or optional devotion, but a grave ecclesial precept rooted in apostolic tradition and divine law. This discipline embodies the Church's perennial call to penance, uniting the faithful to the passion of Christ, fostering self-mastery, encouraging solidarity with the poor, and deepening interior conversion. Codified in canon law and repeatedly affirmed by the magisterium, abstinence remains a vital spiritual practice in every age. From the dawn of Christianity, Friday was marked as a penitential day in memory of Christ's suffering and death. The Catholic Encyclopedia affirms, from the dawn of Christianity, Friday has been signalized as an abstinence day in order to do homage to the memory of Christ's suffering and dying on that day of the week. Early Christian witnesses such as the teaching of the apostles, the Didache, Clement of Alexandria, and Tertullian explicitly testify to this practice. Thus, abstinence on Fridays is not a medieval invention but an apostolic inheritance preserved across centuries. Pope Nicholas I in the 9th century declared abstinence from flesh meat obligatory on Fridays, and Pope Innocent III presupposed its universal binding force when he noted that the obligation was suspended only when Christmas fell on a Friday. Across East and West, while forms varied, the penitential intent remained constant, underscoring the Church's unity in honoring the cross through bodily discipline. The Church teaches us that penance is not optional but required by divine law. Pope Paul VI, in his apostolic constitution, Paenitemini, solemnly declared, by divine law, all the faithful are requested and required to do penance. He further specified that the days of penitence to be observed under obligation throughout the Church are all Fridays and Ash Wednesday. The substantial observance binds gravely. This teaching was later incorporated into the Code of Canon Law, which states unambiguously, abstinence from meat is to be observed on all Fridays unless a solemnity should fall on a Friday. Canon 1251. Canon 1252 clarifies that the law of abstinence binds all who have completed their 14th year, while pastors and parents must educate even younger children in the true meaning of penance. Thus, abstinence is both a personal moral obligation and a communal ecclesial act. The Church is careful to reject any notion that meat is intrinsically evil. As the Catholic Encyclopedia explains, Catholic abstinence laws were deliberately formulated against Manichaean and dualistic errors that condemned material creation. Abstinence is disciplinary, not doctrinal. Pope Paul VI clarified in Paenitemini, the law of abstinence forbids the use of meat, but not of eggs, not of the products of milk, not of the condiments made of animal fat. The purpose, therefore, is not dietary restriction for its own sake, but voluntary renunciation. By giving up something lawful and good, the faithful learn freedom from domination by appetite. Theologians traditionally held that even small violations of abstinence carry moral weight, because the law binds always and everywhere. Though exemptions exist for sickness, necessity, or serious hardship, mercy, not legalism, governs the application of the law. At its heart, abstinence is a participation in Christ's self-emptying love. The renunciation of meat on Fridays unites the believer to the cross in a concrete bodily way. Pope John Paul II, preaching on Ash Wednesday in 2003, taught, fasting has great value in the life of Christians. It is a spiritual need in order to relate better to God. He emphasized that abstinence must be joined to a sincere desire for inner purification and thoughtful solidarity with our brothers and sisters, especially the very poor. For John Paul II, fasting and abstinence are not negative acts but paths to freedom. Speaking to young people in 1979, he explained, fasting means putting a limit on so many desires, to have full mastery of oneself, to learn to control one's own instincts, to train the will in good. This self-mastery purifies the heart, strengthens faith, enlivens hope, and makes charity more active. In this way, abstinence becomes a school of holiness. The Church has always linked abstinence with almsgiving and charity. Savings from simpler meals are traditionally directed toward the poor, transforming personal sacrifice into communal love. Paenitemini explicitly integrates abstinence into the triad of prayer, fasting, and charity, warning against a purely external observance devoid of conversion. Abstinence trains believers to recognize excess in their lives and to respond to the needs of others. In a consumeristic culture marked by overindulgence, abstinence stands as a prophetic sign. It challenges the illusion that fulfillment comes from constant satisfaction and reorients the heart toward God and neighbor. By voluntarily embracing hunger or limitation, the faithful grow in compassion for those who experience involuntary deprivation. While Episcopal conferences may permit alternative penitential acts outside Lent, the Friday obligation itself remains. The USCCB reiterates that fasting and abstinence set a minimum, not a maximum, for Christian sacrifice. Meat abstinence remains the clearest and most universal expression of Friday penance, directly linking the faithful to the cross. Violation of this obligation, when deliberate and informed, has traditionally been understood as a grave matter. Yet the Church always upholds pastoral sensitivity, exempting those prevented by health, age, or necessity. The goal is not punishment but conversion. Catholic abstinence from meat is a profound synthesis of law and love, discipline and devotion, body and soul. Rooted in apostolic tradition, mandated by canon law, and illumined by papal teaching, it draws believers into Christ's saving passion. As Pope John Paul II taught, abstinence purifies the heart, deepens prayer, and strengthens charity. Faithfully observed, it prepares the Church to journey from the cross to the joy of Easter, purified, united, and transformed. Abstinence from meat is therefore both law and a catechesis. It is enjoined by the Church's legal tradition, articulated pastorally by bishops' conferences and diocesan regulations, and intended to effect interior conversion. In India, the CBCI, as the local dioceses, implement these norms with pastoral care, preserving the obligation's spiritual meaning while allowing compassionate dispensations where genuine need exists. Observed with prayer and charity, Friday abstinence remains a simple sacramentalized way for Catholics to keep the cross at the center of weekly life and to prepare more deeply for the joy of Easter.